All right, Jimmy Ott and Paul Stone talking college football. It's championship week, and I don't know about the shelf life of these games. Some don't make a whole lot of money. Some make some necessary money to keep to go into their conference till. But the SEC makes a lot of money on theirs. The Big Ten, with the markets they're in, they make a lot. The rest of them, we will see. But it seems to be, when you get a conversation for championship week, well, do you really want to be playing on this week? It makes you wonder. But let's get to it. We got the Friday games today. So there's a quadruple header on Friday, 7 o'clock Eastern and 8 o'clock Eastern. All games start at that time. And let's start out in Jacksonville State. Kennesaw State, 2.5 and 59.5. Road favorite here at Jacksonville State. Both teams 7-1 in the conference. Game played early. This is a rematch of when they played earlier in the year. And Jacksonville State won 35-26 at home earlier in the season. Kennesaw State, their last 3 wins. Now, the last 4 games, 3 of the wins were by 1 score and then that loss. So all close, highly competitive games for Kennesaw State. Just turned Division One not so long ago. So they are an underdog, kind of an underdog story. And, Paul, at Jacksonville State, Rich Rodriguez left and did a very good job for them, went to West Virginia and took a lot of the best players. So this is really unexpected for Jacksonville State. This is a nice sign of their program to bounce back and to be in this game after going 7-1 in conference again. Again, the Owls on the road here. Kennesaw State, 2.5 and 59.5.
Yeah, I tell you, really unexpected for both these Conference USA teams to be here. As you mentioned, Kennesaw State just recently made the transition to the FBS level, and they had some bright spots last year, but lost a lot of people and kind of came out of nowhere. So both these teams kind of in a surprising situation, being in the championship game. You mentioned the first meeting between these schools played, as this game will be, in Jacksonville, Alabama, not to be confused with Jacksonville, Florida, but Jacksonville State won that first meeting 35-26, and they benefited from being +4 in the turnover category. Kennesaw State's 2 quarterbacks, Amari Odoms and Dexter Williams, they threw a total of 4 interceptions. So Jacksonville State +4 in that turnover battle in that first meeting. And these teams put up some offense in that first meeting, combined for over 1,000 total yards offense, 579 of those yards by Kennesaw on 90 plays. And then Jacksonville State, 451 total yards on just 56 plays. The teams combined to average over 7 yards per play. So just tons of offense. As I mentioned, Kennesaw's interception problems in that game, they would have scored more had it not been for the interceptions. 3 of those 4 interceptions occurred when they were inside of Jacksonville State's 25-yard line. One of them occurred on 3rd and goal from the Jacksonville State 4. So they were deep in the territory of the Jacksonville State team through, one of those interceptions there. Their quarterback, Dexter Williams, their backup quarterback, he threw a 4th quarter interception. Again, Mario Odom, the starter, threw the other 3. But Dexter Williams did bring the Kennesaw State Owls back in that game. They were trailing by about 19 points, I think, led them to a couple of touchdowns. They got back tight, couldn't prevail. But looking at this game, again, 146 plays in the first game, which is about 10 plays more than your typical college football game. I use a formula to project number of plays in a game, and I project a few more plays even in this game than the first. I project 149 plays in the rematch. Kind of get an idea where I'm going. I'm going to the over here ultimately. Jacksonville State 8-3 to the over in its 11 games this season versus FBS opponents. Kennesaw State, meanwhile, of their last 6 games, 5 of those have gone over. And really interesting, the caliber of competition, they did play Wake Forest early, so they played a little bit higher caliber of opponent in that game. But in their first 5 games this year, Kennesaw State only 19.4 points per game on average, so under 20 points per game on average in their first 5. In their last 7, however, Kennesaw State has averaged 36 points a game. They have really been rolling on offense. Both teams run the ball a lot, but they do play very, very fast. One thing to keep an eye on, like several games on Friday. There is a chance of rain Friday in Jacksonville, Alabama. As we record, we're 3 days rather, from game day. Weather forecasts can be fickle, so it could change, but currently a 50% chance of rain in Jacksonville, Alabama. But I'm going to count on favorable, decent weather conditions. I like Jacksonville State and Kennesaw State to run it up again. I like the over 59.5.
Paul, 2/3 of these 9 conference championship games this year are rematches. Do you have a philosophy generally about the rematch? At the college level, I know Nick Saban always used to think that it was a little bit easier to get his team up and to respect their opponent after losing the first time around.
I'll tell you, I looked at, not to Nick Saban is perhaps the greatest college football coach of all time, but I looked at the SEC rematch situation, and the team that won the first meeting has done quite favorably historically in the SEC championship game. Of course, that's just one conference, but I think it's like 5-2 maybe or something like that. That comes to mind. But I really don't have too much of a.
Okay.
I think it's a little bit of a crapshoot, so I don't really lean on any tried and true theory or trend that I've seen historically. I just think it's a new ball game, and who's maybe playing better at the time, who's healthier, those types of things. But all things being equal, I do agree with what you're alluding to with Coach Saban. All things being equal, the losing team might have a little bit of an edge if the teams are indeed close to the same level.
Bet Rivers players who place the same game parlay of at least $10 on college or pro football games will receive an entry into the weekly Squares game. Winning Squares can earn up to a $50 bonus bet per entry. See the Bet Rivers app or website for more details. Another 7 Eastern kickoff Friday night. James Madison, the Dukes, 23-40. Said 23. That's right. I said 23 points in the conference championship game. 47.5 over Troy. Sunbelt. And in this one, and James Madison will be trying to get this win, and then pulling against their in-state rivals, their big brothers from the ACC, the Virginia Cavaliers, because with a win and a Virginia loss, they are probably in the college football playoff. Well, if James Madison and the winner of North Texas and Tulane get in, they kick the can to try and redo the structure for 2027 and later. They'll reduce the possibility of getting two G6 teams into the playoffs when teams like Vanderbilt, Miami might be left out. But the Dukes here, and we look at these unbalanced divisions, and we kind of took the bait on that earlier this year, that Southern Miss Texas State game. I'm like, when have we seen a team that was 4-0 in the conference against a team that's 0-4 in the conference, playing at home and given, I mean, basically a pick 'em or less than a field goal in that thing. And boy, Texas State had players suspended after the game against UL Lafayette. And man, they just jumped on them big time down in Hattiesburg and whooped them pretty good. We talked about Southern Miss and their coach coming from Marshall, bringing half of his roster down to Hattiesburg with them. And folks in Hattiesburg are tickled pink, but they faded after a hot start for Southern Miss. And Troy managed to get themselves in the game. But James Madison this year, the Dukes, they're, to me, clearly the second best team is Old Dominion in this conference. Well, they were in the same division as James Madison. And when they played this year and they had the attention of the Dukes, 63-27. They beat them by 36 in that game earlier this year. James Madison outscoring their opponents by over 20 points a game. Troy by less than 1 point a game with everything at stake. And I like something about with a team that's playing for something but needs some help. They seem to be like just really good, do their part more than it's all on their shoulders. So just a little psychological angle there. I'm not in the business of laying more than 3 touchdowns in a conference championship game, but I will do it here with the Dukes and lay the 23 at home against Troy. I think you've got all of the attention, and just one of these things that played out, Paul, and look, James Madison's won plenty of games at whether it's FCS, formerly Division One AA, now Division One or FBS. They won a lot of games. The last coach, he's doing pretty good in Bloomington, Indiana. This coach is headed to Westwood to coach the UCLA Bruins. So I think the Dukes will be ready to go for this win and will not take their foot off the gas in this situation against Troy on Friday night.
Yeah, and you mentioned it. I mean, the fact that they do seem to have a path to the playoff if they take care of business on Friday night, and then Duke can pull the mild upset of Virginia in Charlotte on Saturday night, then it appears JMU would be in the 12-team tournament. So I'm with you there. You got to think they're going to have their foot on the gas for 60 minutes. You mentioned the fact that their head coach, Bob Chesney, has apparently accepted the position at UCLA to become their next head coach, but he will coach the Dukes in Friday's Sun Belt title game in any potential college football playoff games as well. These teams didn't meet in the regular season, but as you kind of alluded to, James Madison, clearly the superior team here. Troy just not as revved up offensively as the Dukes. The Dukes are certainly going to be aiming for style points, if you will. And I don't think they're going to be bashful about piling it on if they're in that position. You look at their last 5 games against Sun Belt opponents. It's just been insane how much they have scored. They have averaged 53.4 points per game in their last 5 games against Sun Belt opponents. They've won those games by an average of more than 35 points a game. They have been rolling. I made JMU minus 21 in this game, so it was right in the neighborhood. That's pretty much what it opened at, and money has been arriving on the Dukes. You know, if forced, I would probably lay the lumber and join you on JMU, but I'll probably be on the sideline here. But it's going to be interesting to see what type of performance that the Dukes pull off on Friday night with the playoff spot perhaps looming on the horizon.
Log into your Bet Rivers account each Saturday to receive 2 profit boosts for same game and standard parlays, with the profit boost dependent on the number of legs included. See the Bet Rivers app or website for more details. All right, game number 3, and we go out to the Mountain West Conference. Smurf Turf is where we go. Boise State 3.5, 59 over UNLV. This is a rematch of a game earlier this year, 56-31 on in the blue turf for Boise State. And in that game, boy, UNLV's defense, and their defense has been shaky this year. They are one of the worst in Division One and giving up over 28 points a game. In that game at Boise, UNLV gave up 558 yards on 57 snaps, almost 10 yards per snap. That is unbelievable. UNLV, and I was in Las Vegas for week 0, and I was wondering, boy, that was a shaky start for Dan Mullen. Wonder if he was distracted by the bright lights in Vegas, because they were very unimpressive 38-31 survivor winner against Idaho State, where they showed maybe some of the signals that their defense might not be that good. But they started out 5-0 and had a 2-game losing streak against Boise State and at New Mexico, and ended with a 5-game winning streak. Revenge spot again here, and also a revenge spot for this game as well. Now, they played it in Las Vegas last year, and Ashton Genty was just too much for the running Rebels, and were competitive, but unable to do so. And I believe Boise covered in that game as well. So Boise here, and it just seems that Boise State at home, they're not quite as good as they've been, but damn it, there's still more balance in UNLV at home as well. 3.5 is a short number. I'm going to take the bait here and take the Broncos at home, Paul.
Yeah, I'll tell you, Boise State clearly struggled down the stretch in their 4 games in the month of November. But good news for the Broncos yesterday. On Monday, during his press conference, head coach Spencer Danielson announced that starter Maddox Madsen would return to the starting lineup. He missed all of the Broncos' previous 3 games and just about all of the 4th game, the game before that. Max cut forth their backup, showed some bright spots, but there was clearly a drop off at the quarterback position. Now they have their head guy, their top quarterback, back in Madsen. So I think they're going to be better on offense. You know, these teams played on this same stage, Albertson Stadium, as you mentioned, about a month and a half ago. Boise wins that game 56-31. They closed in that game, Jimmy. It's a 13-point favorite. So here they are in the championship game with Madsen back as a 3.5-point favorite. So it seems a little bit odd. It seems a little bit dicey. You just wonder if you're missing something. But I'm not only going to join you on taking Boise minus 3.5. I'm going to take the over 59. And again, this is a situation where we've got some potential weather in Boise there on Friday night. So keep your eyes open for any potential inclement weather that might impact the blue turf there in Boise, Idaho. But I think this is going to be another high scoring game. UNLV is very good on offense, not so good on defense. I think there's going to be some points. I think Boise State's going to win it by a touchdown or so. So I'll take Boise State minus 3.5 and over 59.
We're on a mobile site with Bet Rivers, and they play by different rules because you have to have brick and mortar to have your mobile site in Nevada. And out of all the reports out of Las Vegas, the locals, they bet the Rebels. I mean, a lot of people bet what they want to cheer for, and so bet with their heart, bet what they want to pull for. Probably, if you're watching these videos, you're a little bit more advanced than that, but. I just wonder if it's in anticipation, this low line, anticipating that they know they're getting hit with the Rebels action out in the desert. Let's move on to our fourth and final matchup on Friday night. Another 8 Eastern to kick off down uptown New Orleans. This is a battle of two coaches that have accepted other jobs. Two coaches in this game seems to be a play-in for the college football playoff. Both teams, both coaches have accepted jobs that both coaches are coaching or allowed to coach their teams should they advance to the college football playoff. Tulane in this, they're no stranger to the American Conference Championship game. This is their fourth one, whether it's Willie Fritz or John Sumrall. Sumrall in his second year, he has accepted the Florida job in Gainesville. Morris at North Texas, boy, I thought he might have gotten a bigger one, but maybe a proper landing spot in Stillwater, Oklahoma, to take on the Oklahoma State Cowboys. North Texas road favorite here, and these teams did not play in the regular season. North Texas is a 2.5, 65.5 point favorite on the road at Yeoman Stadium in Tulane. And you start with the Mean Green and their offense. Number one in the country at 47 points a game. Number one in the country with 512 yards per game. So, and you start off with the quarterback, Mestamaker, who did not start for his high school team. Backup quarterback, punter, and safety for his team. And, well, he was almost a favor that Morris let him come on to the team. But at 6'4", live arm, and athletic, he may have not started in high school, may have a better chance of starting in the NFL than he did in high school. Tulane lost this game last year when they traveled for the first time in their 4 trips to this game. They were a little chilly up at West Point against the Cadets last year as they got drilled in this one last year. So Summerall back with this team in this spot. We'll see if they're more prepared this time, but catching points at home. And Paul, you covered high school for years as a scribe in the state of Texas, and certainly if you cover high school football in Texas, you know about recruiting, you know about this kid's story coming out of high school.
Yeah, he was very unique at Austin Vandegrift High School. There's some really good football teams in the state of high school football teams in the state of Texas is taken very seriously. But he initially played behind a young man, last name Buchanan, who went on to Baylor to play baseball, but he was behind him at the quarterback position throughout most of his high school career. Didn't start a varsity game in his high school career. In fact, when he started the bowl game last year for North Texas, after their then quarterback Chandler Morris went into the transfer portal, Morris ultimately transfers to Virginia. So Mestamaker gets bumped up. He starts the bowl game for North Texas, the first game he had started at quarterback since his freshman year in high school. So really a unique story. You don't hear too many like that, but it just goes to the depth of talent at some of these high school programs. We got a very unique situation here in the American Conference final championship game there in New Orleans on Friday night. First of all, we have a familiar refrain in that rain is in the forecast in New Orleans as we speak. Looked at weather.com before we came on here. 90% chance during the day in New Orleans, 70% at night, potential for thunderstorms. So keep an eye on that weather forecast there. But some other unique elements about this game is you've got the unranked team favored over the ranked team. Tulane was number 24 in the most recent college football playoff poll. And also, the unranked team that's favored over the ranked team happens to be the road team. So that is really odd to have those two elements present. And then we have the element of both coaches taking new jobs, as you highlighted, appropriately with Morris, the former wide receiver at Texas Tech under Mike Leach, Eric Morris going to Oklahoma State, and John Summerall just recently being named as the University of Florida's head coach. Both coaches will coach their team in this game on Friday night, New Orleans, and the winner that coach will coach, according to all reports, that team in the playoff as well if they make the playoff. So this is really an interesting game. You've got a North Texas team which you mentioned is very prolific on offense. If there is rain, that would seem to be in Tulane's favor. North Texas likes to throw the football. They average 324.5 yards passing a game versus FBS opponents. They rank second nationally in passing yards offense. So certainly, if there is inclement weather, it would perhaps more readily impact North Texas's offense. I do count on manageable weather, though, here in my analysis of this game. And you talked about Drew Mestamaker. I mean, he's the straw that stirs the drink for North Texas. He is the guy, just incredible. He's probably going to go over 4,000 passing yards for the season at some point Friday night against Tulane. So far, he's passed for 3,835 yards this season, averages 10 yards per attempt, 71% completion rate, 29 touchdowns against just 4 interceptions. Really impressive numbers. And I looked at a passing efficiency defense listing of teams that one publication that I subscribe to list each week. Tulane is 93rd, and it combines a bunch of different categories, but they're 93rd in pass efficiency defense. And you look at 2 games earlier this season that Tulane played against comparable passing attacks. Just a few weeks ago, we probably remember Texas San Antonio upsetting Tulane 48-26 as a small home favorite there in San Antonio. In that game, UTSA's quarterback, Owen McCowan, 32 of 34 for 391 yards, 11.4 yards per attempt. So he averaged over 11 yards per attempt against Tulane, hardly even threw an incompletion. And then earlier during the non-conference schedule, Ole Miss's Trinidad Chambliss, he also averaged over 11 yards per attempt against this Tulane pass defense, 11.4 yards per attempt to be exact, 307 passing yards. So if we've got appropriate or manageable weather conditions, I think North Texas is going to throw the ball at will against Tulane. I like the Mean Green -2.5 over the Green Wave.
A lot of people are upset about the transformation, just the evolution of college football and roster making and paying the players and just whatever, and just no loyalty. We get it, but the thing is, here is one of the bright spots of the new format of roster building in college football. Look, the 5 stars have a higher percentage of a higher hit rate at the next level. 4 stars, there's 3 stars. I get it, and it trickles down a little bit. But damn, a guy like Mestamaker, I mean, they missed. I mean, it's just that simple. They missed, and he still gets a chance. Trinidad Chambliss, well, he was too short. I mean, so they didn't give him a chance. So he had to play his way up the farm system, basically, to get his opportunity. Diego Pavia had to go play for New Mexico Military Academy, to try and just keep playing it and be out there. So the quarterback for Tennessee was, I mean, a trainer to be a fireman and got out of football for a little bit. So that's the positive thing about it. If you put out some tape, I don't care what level you are. I mean, the defensive player for the Rams started at Albany in Jared Verse. So, I mean, you put up some tape, they're going to find you no matter where you are. So a lot of those coaches coaching their teams, Lane Kiffin's not. So Not sure what happened there, Paul. So anyway, we stay tuned with Mr. Kiffin as the circus, the Kiffin Circus has come through town here in Baton Rouge. For Paul Stone, I'm Jimmy Ott. We'll be back later in the week with the 5 Saturday games for Conference Championship Saturday. For Paul Stone, I'm Jimmy Ott here on the College Sports Rush YouTube channel on the Bet Rivers Network.